may have heard me say in the past that at some point in this realization process, as realization clarifies, as the insight clarifies, and it does. It's nonlinear. It won't gradually get more and more clear. It will take 3 steps back and 4 steps forward and sideways and this way and that way. And there'll be times when you feel rather enlightened, and there'll be times when you feel rather like a stuck, contracted self, and on, right? There is a very nonlinear aspect to all of this. And at the same time, given enough time, given enough sort of dedication at the level of heart to realization and clarifying realization, it does clarify. So I want to be clear on that, so to speak. But I will say that there comes a time, I find, in a practitioner's process, and it's often in deeper realization, where the sort of perceived or subjective experience of being the one doing the effort, being the one driving practice, being the one driving realization, being the one that this like kind of deciding all the time whether I want to keep going or not keep going, or how much I want to inquire or work or meditate, or how to navigate all this. Should I watch more videos? Should I go to retreats? Should I do this practice? Should I do nothing at all? Right? Which videos do I listen to? Do I believe the people who say that there's really nothing you can do? Well, there's really no one who can do it, and then on and on. Or do I believe more traditionalist views that practice is key to enlightenment, realization, integration, and all that? So like all of that, right, feels like this big thing you have to manage, this big process or responsibility. Yeah, and that responsibility backward extrapolates a sense of the one who's responsible, and that's what I'm going to just refer to as efforting, exertion in a personal sense. At some point, that will give way to a realization that is flowering naturally and spontaneously. This does coincide largely, I don't know if the Venn diagram's 100%, but it coincides largely with the recognition or the realization that realization and enlightenment, that the fruition of practice is already everything, right? It's not part of life. It is life. Spirituality is not just this thing that makes your life better. The spirituality isn't a process to improve your life or to clarify something. Spirituality, realization, life, same. There is no differentiation really anywhere between anything. And so that does coincide with this realization that fruition, further refinement, further clarifying, which will occur, is really a spontaneous process. It comes more from a kind of surrender than it does from a kind of effort. Although I will say there's a sort of balance with that effort and surrender as well. But the antidote is required, and the antidote being spontaneity is required for that, momentum of years and years and years of believing you're the doer, believing you're the one in charge, believing you're in control and out of control and having to manage it all. So the antidote to that is this really beautiful relaxation into the process itself. And also another overlap is knowing that practice is fruition. Fruition is practice. In Zen, where I used to practice, they would say 1 minute of sitting or 1 minute of Zazen is 1 minute of being a Buddha, right? Same. And to realize this is a big release into this spontaneity where realization just comes forward and it drives itself forward, drives itself deeper naturally. And I could say you're along for the ride, but even that's dualistic. You are the whole ride. You're completely intertwined with all of it. And yet because you're intertwined with all of it, there's not so much a need to push or pull on any part of anything, right? There's no practice that's a separate part of your life, so you don't have to manage that. It's more just relaxing into the seeing that all is spontaneous. All is interconnected. And all is also empty of any abiding reality. When all of that is in balance, then this clarifying can go rather deep, rather quickly. And so I've said this before, maybe not in this exact way, but I wanted to make one connection as well. And that is, as we're going through this deepening process, right? As we're in this deeper sort of phase of fruition, what this coincides with is a whole lot of shadow work. And you'll probably notice that when there's shadow work coming up, when there's shadow work to do, that's often when the sense of volition comes up as well, the sense of control, wanting to control, having to figure out what to do, whether to exert effort, how in quotes, to surrender, right? This paradox. All of that comes up when there's a lot of shadow work to do, typically, right? So even though, yes, this does become a much more spontaneous process, and ultimately will be felt thoroughly as being a spontaneous process that doesn't require any kind of personal volition. In fact, personal volition is just a distraction, right? Even though that is the case in deeper realization, it's also the case that shadow work comes out of nowhere, right? The good news about this, though, is when this shadow material comes up, repressed emotion, intense emotions we don't want to feel necessarily, like fear, shame, anger, or just something that causes us to dissociate. Like we have the habit of avoiding the emotion, but we don't even know why, and we just feel the avoidance rather than the emotion. When any of that's happening, right, this is what I mean by shadow work. So the question often comes up, like, how much shadow work is there to do? Do I need to do more shadow work? And this is where we'll often get in our head in this moment and be like, should I just inquire, or as if there's a choice, or should I go into the sensations, right? Should I go into the shadow material, into the emotions and so forth? And I'll often point out, are you sure that's a choice? Are you sure there's a difference there, right? And this is really the pathway, the key to seeing this spontaneity, how it blooms or how it clarifies itself, how it comes into your sort of experiential knowledge is in this space. Another way of saying it is the answer to the question, how much shadow work is left? It's like, well, until this is felt to be completely spontaneous and there is a great relaxation that is also the practice, that is also the deepening, that is also the clarifying, even though everything's already clear, right? Paradox, but that's the case. Until that is the case, then if there's shadow material, that's shadow work. You have to do it. It gets that simple. So if you need to feel massive resistance in the moment, feel massive resistance, right? If you need to feel incompleteness in the moment, feel incompleteness. If you need to feel self-doubt in the moment, feel self-doubt. But feel it fully, really feel it. And to the degree it starts to get heady or conceptual, right? Any labels, any narratives about it, anything, then just notice, like, how does attention move through consciousness? How is attention moving through consciousness right now, right? How is that moving? Is there actually a self in there, or is there just a certain movement of consciousness through attention? Attention through consciousness. And then how does attention suddenly again appear in the sensations of the body, what we call the body, the emotion body? Notice that. Notice how it just appears. It appears where it already is, right? There's nothing tracking it. It's just appearances, appearing. As this clarifies, then you'll start to actually even not be able to differentiate shadow work from non-volition, from spontaneity, from merging, until it's all merge, right? Everything dissolving into everything else. So hopefully that didn't make anything more unclear.